feel like we want the beauty of marriage, we want the fruit of marriage, but we don't want the hard work that comes with it.
Right.
And there is hard work. There's a dying to self. There's sometimes putting aside your own needs for the sake of the other person. There's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of forgiveness that needs to go in there. There's a lot of growth and self-evaluation and constantly checking yourself. How am I doing? Am I doing right by my husband? And that's why I was saying love is to the other person, because if you're constantly thinking, oh, what is he doing for me? Which was my approach in the beginning. I just always felt like I was getting the short end of the stick because I was looking at myself. I was looking at my needs. I actually like to joke with my husband that every time we were like in a fight and he said something like, but even me, I'm hurt, I would be like I could not fathom in what universe he's hurt.
Yeah.
Like, how are you hurt? First of all, I'm the one who came to you with the issue. Right. So, like, for me in my head, his feelings were like, how are you hurt? What could I possibly do that could hurt you?
Let's talk to them. Let's talk chicka. Let's talk to them. Let's talk to let's talk to them. Let's talk chicka. Let's talk to them. Yeah, I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa. Hailing with a 256, it's in my blood. That's a gem where the mountains rise, with stories untold. The tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold. A symphony of stars, a celestial light. The drums beating, echoing through the night, just like a beacon of light. A reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa with timeless stories untold. What's up, dog?
Elevate your podcast game today. Are you looking for a perfect place to record your podcast in Kampala? Look no further. Danceoff Studios, located at Ivory Plaza on Wilson Street, Level 3, Room 4, is a perfect place for you. Danceoff Studios has professional recording equipment, comfortable and creative environment, expert for all your podcast needs. Book your session today. Find them on all social media platforms or reach out to them directly to secure your spot. Let them make your podcast dream a reality. Danceoff Studios, where stories come to life.
Loving Father, we thank you for bringing us here today. Thank you for the conversation we're about to have. Thank you for allowing me to be in this space. I pray that whatever we discuss will bring glory to your name. We pray for our audience that as they tune in, that you will speak to them, convict their hearts, depending on what it is that they are going through. We also pray that there'll be smooth processes of the technical staff, and that all will go well to the glory and honor of your name. We bless you and we thank you, for it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Before I read your introduction to the listeners, I want to put two things across. Most of the people that know my podcast, they see my beautiful background in my studio. Today, I'm not in that. I traveled. I'm away from home. But God has blessed me to have a mobile podcast that I can do it from anywhere and everywhere. And that's why the clip that I posted, people are like, but where is this guy? Is he in Uganda? Is he flying to Uganda all the time? But actually, even with where I live, I can do a podcast from any place where I go, and we bring you this conversation. Nice. So God has blessed us with technology and equipment to deliver the message and people to hear him from everywhere and anywhere. That's why we're here, from wherever. Welcome back to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, and I'm your host, Bonny Kibuuka. And today I'm joined by an inspiring woman whose voice and purpose has touched many hearts, Rachael Mwine. She's a broadcaster, a communicator, and the host of the Good Wife podcast, where she's on a mission to show that marriage still works. Today we're diving into everything from marriage and character growth to faith, self-awareness, and balancing between personal fulfillment and partnership. Rachael, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here. It's really great to be here. I'm looking forward to our conversation.
I'm looking forward to it. You were recommended to this podcast by Pumla. Shout out to Pumla.
Yes.
She did amazing on this podcast. That was one of my videos that did a breakthrough for this because I had always
Very,
been doing
very
what
well. Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
amazing, and I thank God for what that brought to the platform, and I believe we're continuing to grow. Um, One more thing I didn't tell my listeners: you're gonna see me hold my microphone because part of the things we do when we travel, you tend to forget something. So I forgot my mic stand. So today we're gonna do it this way. Hope it doesn't bother
Yeah.
anyone. Uh, but
As long
Rachel,
as we can hear you.
as
Yeah.
long as you can hear me, that's all you need.
Mm.
Because even people who are listening on Spotify, they don't know where my microphone will be. They will just like
This is
listen.
true.
So it's only
Yeah.
for the people on YouTube. How are you doing?
I'm very well. I'm good. I mean, this is sacrifice for me because it's a Saturday.
Hmm.
Saturday is usually for chilling, putting my feet up. My husband and my son usually go away every Saturday afternoon. Part of it is to hang out with other boys,
Yeah.
but also to allow me time to just chill and reflect and recharge. But here I am having a conversation with you. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that that's how I typically spend my Saturdays.
But I do appreciate you sharing that because it gives me like the joy and happiness to like somebody sacrificing something. And even to my listeners, like
Yeah.
you could be doing a lot of other things, but you chose to come spend the time here. So I don't take that for granted and I do appreciate that. So we're thankful.
You're welcome.
When
You're
did you
welcome.
first hear? I ask this everybody who comes here. It's
Uh-huh.
now become a tradition. When was the first
Yeah.
time you ever had
Mhm.
the Ugandan boy talk show?
That's a that's a really interesting question, and I will say this: I spend a lot of time on YouTube, a little unhealthy. I must have seen your content maybe somewhere at the beginning of the year. Don't ask me what you were talking about, but when you reached out, you were not new to me. I
Mhm.
had seen your name on the YouTube streets. I don't remember who you were interviewing. And then of course when Pumla came on the show, I was like, oh, Pumla is on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. I don't even know what it was doing in my algorithm at the time, but somehow it showed up in my feed, and I think I probably saw some clips on Instagram as well. And then somebody reached out because I didn't watch the show to the end. Somebody reached out and said, "Oh, by the way, Pumla recommended you to be on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show." I was like, "Oh, did she?" So I went to watch until the end to see the recommendation, and yeah, it was quite humbling. And so shout out to Pumla
Shout out to Puma.
for recommending me. Yes.
And then when I was
Yeah.
doing reaching out to you, one
Yeah.
of my cousins sends me a text. Tell Bonnie
Uh-huh.
that the lady they have recommended, Rachel, is somehow related to us. And I was like, wait a minute,
Right.
how? So about our distant relationship, like we
Yeah.
kind of find out that my cousin Ruth is married
Mm-hmm.
to your cousin, right?
To my cousin, yes.
That
So
is
we are
crazy.
in-laws. It is wild. It is
That
wild.
is
Actually, when you sent me the picture, you said Ruth and then you said a cousin Andrew. I was like, wait a minute, what? Who? How? Until you sent the picture, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is really close because his mom is a cousin to my mom, a first cousin to my mom. And I've known Andrew since he was a little boy. Makes me feel a bit old. So watching him grow and get married and start his own family was such a delight. And now knowing that there's a connection between you and I was, it was lovely to find out. It really was.
it's funny because
Yeah.
my DOP is actually my cousin too. So when we were preparing for this
Oh.
show, Dan,
Uh-huh.
he's not Adam. Dan, he was supposed to be here
Yeah.
this morning, but we were preparing because we communicate on a Friday night. Okay, this is the person I'm bringing. This is
Mm.
what we need. We go through the
Yeah.
routine. So
Mm-hmm.
actually, when people see these things come out, they don't think it doesn't just happen. It's a whole week of process. Like
There's a lot of
from
process.
from
Yes.
Monday,
Yeah.
I'm preparing for my guests. Like that helps me to have
Wow.
a conversation. Like I want to be in that space. I want to have that conversation because it's meaningful to me. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't here. I talked to him. I was like, so our next guest we might be related to her. She was like, oh, so she's family. And then I explained how we're related. But it's unfortunate that he wasn't here to see you.
Yeah, I've missed
Um
him.
but
I've
yeah,
missed him. Do say hi for me.
I will. So anyway,
Yeah.
a few things that stand out to me when I'm preparing for my guests. I like to do a little research, find out about them.
Yeah.
People call it
Mm-hmm.
stalking. There's some people who are saying, Bonnie, you like to stalk people. however you call it, me, I call it research. I landed on this video of your
Uh-huh.
family, you, your husband, and your son. I laughed my lungs out. The Bob the Builder in reverse. That's the funniest video
Oh,
I've ever seen in my life. I don't think my audience, if they don't follow you, I want you to explain to us that clip because it was funny.
all
I
right.
laughed.
Yeah. So my son is 10. He's 10 years. He loves Bob the Builder. I mean, like most children do. And for the parents who are watching, Bob the Builder is one of those. I find it like a clean cartoon. It's educative, it's entertaining. So anyway, he loves watching it. And for about maybe 2 weeks or so, he had this song, this tune that he kept singing. And I never paid much attention to it, but I noticed that he kept singing it over and over again. And so one evening after dinner, my husband tells me, Micah is singing Bob the Builder in reverse. And my brain could not fathom it. I didn't even know what question to ask. What do you mean he's singing Bob the Builder in reverse? And so the Bob the Builder intro song. And so he says, I have this app on my phone. It's an audio reverser. I'm going to ask him to sing the song. We'll record it in reverse and then put it in the audio reverser so that the audio reverser can put it
correct.
back to normal, if
Right.
that makes sense. And so I know my husband sometimes to exaggerate things. He won't be happy that I said this, but sometimes he says very outlandish things and I'm like, I need to see proof. So I was really waiting to see the proof of this Bob the Builder song in reverse. And so we recorded Micah and then put the audio that he had recorded in the audio reverser. And it was Bob the Builder, the normal way we know it. My mind was so blown. I was like,
Oh,
I don't understand this.
look,
It doesn't make any sense.
that is
Yeah,
funny.
but my son,
That was funny.
he's amazing.
How do you
It's
even
amazing,
sing in
so,
reverse?
yeah.
Like that blew my mind away, but it was also funny, and I was just laughing. If you guys have not seen this
Yeah.
clip, you should go to Rachel's
You should.
Instagram. You should go see it.
Yeah.
You'll laugh. I think you'll even enjoy
Yeah.
it better watching it in real time because they did everything
Yeah.
in real time. It was funny, but
Yes, it
that was
was.
funny. The other clip was you were on NBS TV. I don't know if you worked on NBS TV in your broadcasting days.
Oh, no.
Um,
So this was
I was on a concert.
yes, it was
Maybe.
at the tail end of the CC Winans concert, the one that
Yeah.
was in, I think it was August.
Yeah. You were
Yeah.
saying something on live TV. Here comes your
Mhm.
husband, gives you a peck on the cheek. It was the most hilarious thing on live TV.
My crazy husband. Yes. So I was actually walking away from the concert venue and the Next Media crew wanted a brief interview. I was doing PR and communication for the Susie Winans concert, PR and publicity rather. And they wanted a quick word on what the concert meant and the kind of impact that it had had. Because now at the end, people were leaving, so many people that came through. So I stood and I was talking to people about, I think they'd asked me a question about Christian events and how sometimes those can be considered boring, especially for young people, and what it means for them to come into spaces like that. So I'm there pouring out my heart and speaking with such conviction. My husband, I think, was in charge of protocol at the time for the concert. And so he comes behind me and gives me a peck on the cheek while I'm doing my piece to camera. And we thought it was funny. At
Yeah.
the time, I was like, you are so unserious. But thankfully, I was at the tail end of, my comments. When the piece came through, I thought it was really, really funny and warm. And so I decided, let me share this with my audience. And so I shared it. It was received very well. It got people laughing.
It was really funny, and when I landed to it, I was like, it looks like something I would do because I'm just like that.
Really?
You're like, I don't know.
So Ben and I are very different. I am the more like serious. The fun has to kind of be contained, with people that you're comfortable with. My husband, he has no problem doing crazy things like that. Sometimes I'm just like, what? What
Well,
did you
yeah.
just do?
Yeah.
So it's very like him. I think I'm learning over time because we've been together 12 years. I'm learning over time, I guess, to loosen up and go with the flow. Yeah.
I'm more of like that. I'm more of a free spirit. Like I can do spontaneous things. Like
Really?
yeah, like
Ooh.
I don't even think about it. And then I'll apologize if it offends somebody. But like in the first place,
Are
I'm
you
like,
serious?
yeah,
I did it anyway.
yeah.
I'm
So
such an overthinker. And I think I have a perfectionist streak. And so for me, something has to kind of be perfect. I think about how people are going to take it. I think about how it's going to make people feel. Some of it is unhealthy and
yeah,
it might be part of my toxic traits. But I guess God has an interesting way of bringing people together. So my husband is free spirited. Me, I'm more, it has to align. And, I'm afraid of what people would say. And yeah, so.
it was funny, and those are two videos that stood out to me. I was like, we definitely have to talk about this at the beginning.
Thank
But
you.
Rachel,
Thank you.
on my podcast, I have a few segments that we walk through, and I like to start with a fun segment just to break the ice to get somebody in. I mean, I
Okay.
think we already broke the ice with the two clips I just did, but
Yes.
I still do the this or that. This or that is where I ask you two things. You pick one and you drop the other. Feel free to explain why you choose that one and why you're dropping the other. Or feel free to say, I don't have an explanation for that. That's my answer. Two answers you can't give me. Neither or both.
Uh-huh.
You have to
Okay.
pick one. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Early morning devotion or late night reflections?
Can I give my explanation first?
Yes.
Early morning devotions, mostly out of. So over time, I have learned that early morning devotions are better because in the evening, I am more tired and I probably just want to fall into my bed and sleep. Early morning devotions have become, I guess, more out of obligation. It's something that I need to do. It's better because I'm fresher and there's no noise, there's no distraction. So I would go with early morning devotions.
Okay. That's good. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm a morning person. At night, you can
Yeah.
hardly get me to do something. Like I'm super
Anything,
tired,
yes.
exhausted from work or something. I just want to
Yeah.
chill. But in the morning, I can do whatever you want. I'll do all that.
True.
Coffee date or dinner at home?
Definitely dinner at home. I'm such a homebody, which is what I
Yeah.
said earlier. It's a
Yeah.
sacrifice. I'm such a homebody. So no, dinner at home for sure.
Yeah. Giving advice or listening quietly?
I'm going to go with listening quietly.
Mm.
That's probably because of my overthinking.
Yeah.
I like to think about things before I say them. And so by the time my reflections come through, I have dissected them maybe a million ways.
Yeah.
And I am convicted about what I have to say. So I'll go with listening quietly.
I think I'll go with that too. I like to believe I have some good advice sometimes, but I
Yeah.
love to listen more than to talk. And a lot of people have talked about that on the podcast. Internet is very funny. There are some people who will
Yeah.
be, you guy, when you host people on your podcast, we want to listen more from the guests than you. I had a
Oh.
particular episode I did, and this person was going through something, and that's what we're going to talk about on the podcast. So I had to build an environment for this person to be vulnerable, to
To
talk,
speak.
say
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
So over time, I would relate to what she's saying. Oh, I have gone through this, through that. And my belief on that approach with the episode was to relate myself to what she's going through. That way, it helps her to not feel like she's alone. And somebody in the comment
Yeah.
section, which I really don't care that much, but I still had to respond to them.
Yeah.
You're like, you talk too much about, and I had to explain to him what my approach was. But for most of my episodes,
Yeah.
people even like, oh my God, you give your guests so much time to talk, you don't
To
interrupt them.
speak.
But that's me, and that's how I do it. Like
Yeah.
I like to listen more than to talk, but only in
Yeah.
certain places when I feel like, okay, I need to come in to this part to
Say
help this
something.
person. Yeah. And that's something you need to know as a either podcaster or a speaker or something.
Yes.
You need to read the room. You need to read when you come in and when to keep quiet. But some people, I
For
guess the
sure.
people who comment, they don't know that side of the story when to do it. So everybody's gonna say whatever they want to say.
For sure. Can I say something about that? Since we're both in the podcast space, um, I know your content is generally well received. I think so is mine. But from time to time, you'll find that outlier comment. You talk too much, or you didn't give your guest an opportunity to share. I think the internet has shown me that sometimes you really can't please everyone.
Right.
You just can't, and you just do your best, because when you're preparing for these conversations, like I know I do, there's a lot of thought and process that is going through your mind before you have the guest with you. So there's a lot that the audience doesn't know.
Right.
What they're seeing is a 1.5 hour conversation, but they've not seen the week-long preparation, research, you having conversations with this individual, how what they're going to talk about makes them feel. And so when they come to that 1 hour conversation, they're sharing their feedback based on that 1 hour, as opposed to all of the other contexts that they are not privy to. So I think sometimes you take it in your stride and keep doing your best.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's even worse with the short clips that we put up on Instagram. Like somebody sees a 2-minute clip, and I usually like to tell them, go watch the full episode for context. Maybe that will help you actually build.
Yes.
Because some people take things out of context, like with the 1-minute thing of somebody said, we share that to help people go see the full episode. We don't share that as like, okay, this is the facts, this is the truth. We share that so that you can spark something in you to go watch the whole episode. Anyway, that was a good faith podcast or self-help audiobook.
Oh wait, you said I can't say both.
No. You can say both.
I'm gonna go with faith podcast, because I feel that, I guess even with the faith podcast, no, I'm gonna go with faith podcast. I think I'm always looking for ways to enrich my spirit, and I think that once you enrich your spirit, it kind of flows into the self-help, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It helps you live life better, because I think everything we need in life, all the advice, all the wisdom, all the tips, all the hacks are in the Bible, and so I think if my spirit is enriched, then I have the help that I need. So I'm going to go with faith-based podcast.
The last one, loud laughter or quiet peace?
Loud laughter with the right company, obviously. I know I can't say both. Of course, there are days when I like the quiet piece, but definitely a good belly laugh, the kind that makes me feel like I'm losing my breath. No, that heals my soul.
That's the thing too. Like if I would have a hard time answering that if it was my question, because I like to say I'm introvert and extrovert. Depends on the mood or the time you find me.
Yeah.
You would catch, even on the podcast, I laugh and then my tears come out when I laugh
Tearing.
so hard. Yeah, I'm that person.
Yeah.
I think I usually say I'm abnormal. But then sometimes I like the quiet piece, like especially when I'm preparing for my episodes, my even like reading or my devotion time. Sometimes even just me just sitting down doing nothing. I like that a lot. It helps me a lot. So if it was my question, I would struggle with it, but it's not my question, so it's all on you.
Yeah, it's all on me. It's all on me.
So we go into your journey, how your journey begins, your story, and your purpose. You've had an impressive journey in broadcasting. What initially drew you into communication and storytelling?
So I've probably shared this somewhere, but growing up, I was maybe about 5 or 6. I used to enjoy having conversations by myself. Of course, I had a fake audience, which in this case was my mom's flower bed or the walls at home. And I took on the role of a teacher because that's all I knew at the time. I was obviously going to school. Actually, maybe I was a little older than 5, 6, maybe 7 or 8. And so I took on the role of a teacher. And so I was teaching the plants. I would beat them. I would talk to them. I would give them instructions. And then I was also drawn to a lot of the news anchors at the time. You're going to see how old I am. But if you used to watch UTV at the time, there was news anchor called Lucy Banya and Bale Francis as well. Those are legendary names, in the broadcast space. But also there was an anchor called Ali Munira who used to host a show called Wild Panorama. She's so beautiful and very well spoken, and she sat behind this really big desk giving us the news. And her bulletin was kind of special because it wasn't like just the day's news, it was like a summary of what was going on in the world. And obviously, like any African household, my dad always emphasized news time. So yes, you'd be watching your cartoons and everything, but when it came to the news, everybody kept quiet. You stopped playing. He didn't want to hear noise. We turned up the volume and watched news. So I was always drawn to people like that. And I used to tell my parents, my dad told this story at my wedding. I used to tell my dad, how can I enter the TV? Like, why don't you open the back of the TV? We had those TVs that had like a big behind.
Yeah.
Not the flat screens. And so I'll tell him, why don't you open the TV and put me in? I want to sit behind the desk. And I think my parents picked up on that because my dad was very intentional about sending me to journalism school. So even when I enrolled to the university, I keep saying that for me, talking about what I was going to do in school was a no-brainer. My parents always knew I was going to do not broadcasting, mass communication. And wherever I ended, God knows. I actually remember a birthday, I was maybe 12 or 13, where my dad bought me my first journal. And I think it was because he had that vision in mind that I was going to be in the media space. And so he wanted me to start writing more, like writing my thoughts or writing the things that I see, and basically have that reporter eye or reporter mind. And yeah, I think my journey started back then when I was little. And then, of course, going to the university, obviously did mass communication. I didn't initially go to broadcast media because mass communication is kind of split up into three. So we have print media, broadcast media, and public relations. I have a feeling things have changed now. I'm sure there's something digital media-ish. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I majored in public relations. And then, interestingly, when I left the university, my first job was at a radio station as a news anchor. And I have not looked back since then. Yeah, I've actually practiced much less public relations and more broadcast.
Are you still in
broadcast
radio
media.
till today?
No, I'm not. I left.
I'm going to ask
many years
you
ago.
your opinion. I've had people on my podcast that have been in media. Now they're no longer doing media. I've had people who are still doing media. I've also, me personally, I have this thing where I call old media and new media.
Okay.
Old media, I'm not using the word old to say a bad thing. No. How things were done back in the day and how things are done today. I put my podcast in new media because of the way things are. Obviously, it has. I mean, even everybody can say we're in different countries right now doing this. Like, this is definitely new media. It would have been a hard time
Yeah.
back then to do something like this. In your opinion, what's your view on Uganda's media right now? And this is an open question in how things are done in media right now.
I hope I don't get into trouble.
I know.
But
I was trying to find a way to ask this question, not to put you
a
in
way to
trouble.
ask the question.
But I just want to hear your
Yes.
opinion, not offending anybody.
Yeah.
It's just your view on it and when you were in it
Yeah.
and how it is today.
So yeah, for sure. I mean, it really is just my opinion. I mean, back then, radio was such a big deal. Even TV, because after I left radio, I kind of transitioned into TV. There was such a big deal because it was all we had. We didn't have social media. We depended on the traditional media to tell us what's going on, to entertain us, to inspire us, which is what media is really supposed to do, to educate as well. But over time, with the advent of social media, things have changed.
Right.
The attention is divided. And so you have, like you have put it, the new media and the old media. And in my opinion, I feel like the old media might be struggling, especially those that have not adapted to incorporating new media in their strategies in terms of how they relay the news or how they entertain, because everyone is on social media. We all consume things on social media faster than we do the traditional media. because I was at radio and I really have a heart for radio. It was one of those places where I felt like I could thrive, even though I broke out through TV. Radio has this nice secrecy about it. People are not seeing you, but they're hearing your voice. And I just liked that. I liked being a mystery, so
Yeah.
to speak. What I feel about radio is I don't know if anyone still listens to radio, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't. I really don't, because everything I need is in a podcast somewhere. It's on a YouTube channel somewhere. It's, clips on Instagram or TikTok. So if there are people who listen to radio, it's very targeted. So you're talking people who are in the car, they're taking their kids to school and maybe driving to work. And then maybe there's someone at home, because that's how we used to categorize media back
Right.
then. It's the people who are going to work, the people who are staying at home. So our house helps, or house managers, if you want to call them that, that person who is staying at home. But now even those people, if they have any kind of access to the internet, are listening to someone on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah.
And YouTube, even in our local context, there's entertainment news. You'll hear about which artist slapped which artist, or who is marrying who, and all the rumors that are going around, the gossip. But you'll also hear things that are educative: how to cook meals, how to have a better marriage or a better relationship. All of that stuff is on social media. So I think that old media either has to heavily incorporate new media into their strategy in order for them to still have some sort of voice.
Yeah.
Short of that, maybe you're left with a handful of the older folk, the people who still believe in watching the news at 9 p.m. Maybe politicians, because everything they do is kind of thrown on traditional media. It's really, I feel like the market has become a lot smaller.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with that. Way you handled that answer very well, like sharing your opinion, and I agree with you a lot, because people, even me, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Like I would listen like every day, all day. I eat podcasts,
Yeah.
listen to podcasts. It helps me on how I
Yes.
can grow. How do other people
Yes.
interview? Like how do you ask this question? And it's changing a lot of people, because people listen to podcasts. We have this beautiful conversation, 1 hour conversation of impact, which radio has now turned into competition against other radio. They try to go to things to fight another radio, and that kind of loses their authenticity when you see
Yep.
what radio stations are doing, incorporating, because they're against, oh, these people did this, they have more numbers, we're going to do this, and they're kind of losing, going away from bringing the message to the people. And that is
True.
actually going away. And when you see this new media, you're going to find me on YouTube. You're going to find me on Spotify. You're going to find me. If you don't want video, there's audio. If you don't want this, there's that. And that's something that podcasts are coming in full swing for this.
Yes.
And I like that
Yeah.
you shared about that. But speaking on podcasts, what was the defining moment that gave birth to the Good Wife podcast?
To the Good Wife. Oh, do you have time?
We do. This is a podcast. We have time. So
Wow. So the Good Wife podcast was very heavily inspired by my own journey, my own marriage journey. I got married, like I said, 12 years ago. It was 2013. And like any married person will tell you, life was not as I thought it would be in the marriage space. Unmet expectations, being unable to resolve conflict, in good time, and just have a healthy connection or a healthy relationship. So we went kind of through our, call it what? Metamorphosis, or like our journey as a married couple, in terms of like trying to figure out each other and trying to figure out how do we move together forward without all the contention, all the fighting, all the bickering, that sort of thing. And at the 7-year mark, again, I think I've shared this somewhere else, at the 7-year mark, after feeling like I had tried everything in my power to kind of salvage, our relationship, I felt exhausted from the trying. you know. And I think the game changer for me was laying down my tools. The tools I'm talking about, the trying, you know, you're talking to a counselor here, you're talking to your friends, you're trying different things out, you know, because marriage advice is everywhere. People are telling
Right.
you what to do. They're telling you how to treat your man and, you know, what to do to make your marriage better. And so I laid down my tools and I went back to God and I said, look, I don't believe in divorce. I don't believe in separation. I didn't even have grounds for divorce, honestly, because these were normal marriage squabbles.
Problem.
Let me
Yeah.
put it that way. Problems, arguments here and there. You go a few days without talking, maybe come back, have a few great days, and then go back to, you know, your unresolved conflict and just feeling resentment building over time. And so I went back to God and I said, look, I don't want to be apart from this man, but I also don't want to live a life of pretense. I don't want to be here and be that couple 30 years from today that are just tolerating each other. So because you brought me here, I need you to show me what to do. And I would like to think that the Lord gave me a very simple formula, which I had kind of put at the back burner because I was all about making my marriage work and a whole host of other things that were going on in my life at the time, finding purpose and what is my life about and all of that. And he basically pointed me back to having a relationship with him and growing that. What does that mean? It means reading my Bible. We were talking about devotion earlier, praying, and just being serious about building and cultivating a relationship with him. And going back to the basics, you know, what does the Bible say about loving your spouse? Or what does the Bible say about forgiveness and about accommodating each other and all those things that we would want to see in our marriage? And in the beginning, I thought, oh my goodness, if I do this, this man is going to take me for granted. But I tried it. I really did. It was very experimental, but it was also coming from a place of exhaustion. I needed something else other than what I had been doing. And when I started to do that, it became, how do I put it? It became the focus of my life. You know, as married people, when you get in there, your desire, and maybe this one is mostly women, your desire is to make your marriage work. So you're going to do everything, many things wrong. You're going to say the wrong things because you're trying to help. You want to change your husband. You want him to be a certain way. And all of that you're doing with good intention. You want your marriage to work. You want it to last. You want it to impact your children. You want to create a healthy environment for yourselves. And I came to a point where after being tired, I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And it just became, I don't want to use the word escape, but it became, I changed my focus from trying to fix my husband and trying to fix my marriage to, let me try and focus all this energy to building my relationship with God.
Right.
And I saw my marriage thrive. It's almost like I didn't have to lift a finger. I didn't have to quarrel. I didn't have to nag. I didn't have to try and fix my husband. The tide just shifted. It began to shift. I stopped being irritated by the little things. You know how you men are.
Yeah, definitely.
Socks on
Understand.
the floor and messy room, and you know, he's not helping me, he's not doing ABCDE, and focused on what is great about him. You know, or what does God say in his word about how I should treat him. And somehow my marriage changed and there was joy back again in my home. I also saw my husband now go through his own change and his own journey. And then I kind of felt indebted to other women. I thought, if I'm a woman and I've been going through this, I'm sure there are other women who have been trying just as much as I have. There are things that I have learned. I want to be able to pass them on to other women. And that's how The Good Wife was born.
That's
because
amazing.
I have a media background, a podcast seemed natural. I'd always wanted to do a podcast on YouTube because, like I said, I consume a lot of YouTube content, but I never knew quite what exactly I would do on YouTube. So it was almost like purpose meeting desire and a dream and a goal. And so it all came together very beautifully in 2024. And that's how it was born.
I gotta say, you have a very beautiful studio, the background, and
Oh,
your
thank
guests
you.
are amazing. I tapped in
Thank
one.
you.
I think she was a lady from Canada. I was listening to that.
Oh, Rachel. Yes, my
Rachel.
namesake.
I tapped
Yeah.
into that one, and I've noticed you have male guests too that you do come, even if it's called
Yes.
the Good Wife podcast.
The
There's
good
some
wife.
male guests, so
Yes.
it's not only for women.
Yeah.
So men, you can also tune in. I love to hear those
Yeah.
behind the scenes of how somebody starts a podcast because it makes me reflect on mine and
Mm.
having that story. It was mine. I mean, the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. I basically started it. I know you didn't ask me, but like just a little bit to relate to what
I'd
you
love
just
to
said
hear. Yes.
is I moved to the US to do aviation because that was a dream I always wanted to do as a young boy. When I was 8, I'd never been on a plane. I'd
Mhm.
never done anything with a plane. So when I came here and I fulfilled that dream, I was able to achieve all that. I was like, why do I sit on this information that could inspire another child in Uganda, hearing my story on
Mhm.
how God has helped me to achieve my dream? There's not a lot of people who do their childhood dreams, like not a lot. So,
Yeah.
and I started this podcast by just sharing how God helped me to come here. I do the aviation, and now I flew airplanes and now fix airplanes. And that's what I still do right now. Like,
Wow.
besides this podcast, I'm a full time aircraft mechanic. I know some people are already like, it's tired of hearing that. But when I shared that story, I was like, how about there's many other people out there who are doing amazing work that God has helped them to be where they're at, that could use their voice
Mhm.
to inspire another child. And then we started this, bringing all these guests. And that's why you see my podcast is not specific to one thing. I have
Mm.
a podcaster today. I have a musician tomorrow. I have a comedian tomorrow because I believe that it's really open and anybody can use, God can use anybody to inspire somebody
True.
to do something. So that started my podcast. But not to leave to stay to that. You touched on a little bit of some things that you were going through in your own marriage. What
Mhm.
do you think most
Mhm.
young people today are losing faith in marriage today? My guess, when you were talking, there's two things I learned
Mhm.
out of there, like your relationship with God. Marriage is different when you have God in you, when you know God,
For sure.
because there's some different things that God will put on your heart that a non-Christian person won't have on their heart. And there's some things you won't do
Right.
because you have God in your heart. And that's what I would say. But like you to build onto that, what do you think most people today in these modern times are losing faith in marriage?
I'm gonna borrow a word from Dr. Evas, who I do reality check with, um, and she likes to say that we are a generation that is very casual about life and about relationships. I think that because I don't know if it's because people are losing faith in it or because there's a lot of damage, excuse me, that is happening within marriage. You're talking infidelity and unfaithfulness, domestic violence,
Mhm.
people not committing to relationships. A lot of people are like, you know what? Let me have my cake and eat it too. Let me have a marriage and maybe have somebody on the side. Or let me enter the marriage, but if I sense any kind of discomfort, like I'm going to be out the door
Like one
very
foot in,
quickly.
one foot out.
Exactly. Yeah. One foot in, one. Like I have a strategy. If I get in and I'm not seeing what I want to see, then I'm gonna get out. And so that has created a weird loop of you have two individuals who say they love each other, and at the slightest discomfort, people want to jump out. And that's not negating the serious discomfort where maybe somebody's life is threatened and they're being beaten or they're being abused, whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, all of that. I'm talking, you have just two raw individuals who have come together. I mean, you've probably come, you have baggage, you have things that you need to work through. And when you come together, you're going to rub each other the wrong way. That should be expected because the way you are, Bonnie, is very different from the way I am. We both grew up in different situations, and those situations have shaped who we are. And I think that we have a lot of casualness, we have a lot of selfishness. There's a lot of me, I, inward looking
Mhm.
approaches to marriage, and marriage cannot thrive like that. Marriage is a group that I'm part of, an accountability group, and we like to say that marriage, rather, love is to the other person. Love is to your husband, love is to your wife. So you don't love someone the way you want to be loved. You love them the way they need to be loved, whatever that looks like in their context. So yes, people are losing faith in it because I feel like we want the beauty of marriage, we want the fruit of marriage, but we don't want the hard work that comes with it.
Right.
And there is hard work. There's a dying to self. There's sometimes putting aside your own needs for the sake of the other person. There's a lot of sacrifice. There's a lot of forgiveness that needs to go in there. There's a lot of, growth and self-evaluation and constantly checking yourself. How am I doing? Am I doing right by my husband? And that's why I was saying love is to the other person, because if you're constantly thinking, oh, what is he doing for me? Which was my approach in the beginning. I just always felt like I was getting the short end of the stick because I was looking at myself. I was looking at my needs. I actually like to joke with my husband that every time we were like in a fight and he said something like, but even me, I'm hurt, I would be like I could not fathom in what universe he's hurt.
Yeah.
Like, how are you hurt? First of all, I'm the one who came to you with the issue.
Right.
So, like, for me in my head, his feelings were like, how are you hurt? What could I possibly do that could hurt you?
Yeah.
And that was selfishness on my part, because here I am thinking, so he's some sort of ninja, he doesn't have the right to be hurt, or his feelings are somewhere bottled up. So it's that level of, I'm looking at myself. What can he do for me? What can he do to make my life better? What can he do to meet my needs? And we're losing that. I think that there's less of that and more, what can my person do for me? I don't know if that answers the question, but
That really does answer the question, and I like the way you broke it out. And but the other thing that comes to my mind too in today's marriage, there's a lot of external pressure from social media in comparison. How do you think couples can protect themselves from that? Because they're sitting on Instagram. People on Instagram, like even me, like we post the good things. We only see the good things. We don't know, like you said,
yes,
we see the beautiful marriage, but we don't see the work that goes into that.
the back, yeah.
How do you think couples can protect themselves from that external pressure?
I'll go back to an experience my husband and I had maybe 6-7 years ago. We got into a really, really big fight. And I think it was in the aftermath of that fight that he and I concluded, we don't have to put our love on blast. Like, we don't have to post our relationship online. And I know that will look different for different couples. But I'm very mindful about what I put on social media. I'm very mindful about why I post my husband, or why I will post a picture of us. Because, again, like you've said, people don't know the backstory. People don't know what you've been through. That picture might just be that day. That day you're happy. The following day you might be in a huge altercation, and you might be calling counselors, but people don't know that. And so I think that it's important for couples to protect their marriage, because that bubble is very, very sacred. And if you kind of put it out there for whatever reason, for people to have opinions about it, or, for people to speculate that you guys are okay, then you have to deal with that. So I think that if you're going to post on social media about your relationship, let it be from the overflow of, you're healthy, you're doing well, maybe it's a celebration of your anniversary, and not the desire to show people anything. You don't have anything to prove to anyone. I think what is important, and what became apparent for my husband and I after that huge fight, is what is important is that you and I are okay.
Yeah.
What is important, what is behind the scenes, is more important than what we are putting, in front of people. And so work on that. Make sure that when you are posting, you're not doing it to show people that, oh, by the way, we are married. We've been married 10 years now. And, look at us, see us. what is important is when you go to bed at night, and like in the marriage space, there are going to be times when you're happy. There are going to be times when you feel connected. There are going to be times also when there's just no spark, there's no connection. You're just there. Maybe because of the challenges of life, or it's just like a boring season, and you kind of need to do something to create that connection again or to mend the connection. So we are not very big. I mean, now we have a podcast. We've talked about our journey on my podcast. And yeah, there are bits of our story out there. But for the most part, we are more mindful about what's happening in the back.
Yeah.
And that's what we should focus our energies on, Yeah.
And like the few things I've learned so far, because I tell my listeners when I'm doing this podcast, I don't think about them. I'm sorry. And I always
Oh,
apologize that
yeah.
if it offends anybody, because me talking to you, it's going to me first. Like I have to first process it before I think about it going to another person. Like you speaking to me, and I'm
Yeah.
processing these things out, and that's why we end up having a good conversation. And then I put this thing
Yeah.
out there for the people, maybe to also to speak to them. You can speak to them. And one thing I've learned so
Right.
far is like you need to have your relationship with God like straight for this to work.
Absolutely.
And that's the beginning
Yeah.
of all this, because when you tried all your tools and they failed, that's why you put them on the side. First work on your relationship with God, because however much you use your tools, whatever you find anywhere on the internet, if that's not right, it's nothing gonna work. And the other thing is then other things will add on. What does communication? I know that's one thing that people say, oh, communication is key, blah blah blah. What does it look like in a healthy marriage?
Yeah, it is a very a wide question, but I'm going to attempt to answer it. I think communication first and foremost requires understanding
Mm-hmm.
and seeking to understand the other person before you are understood. It's actually one of, I think, the 7 habits of highly effective people. Seek first to understand and then be understood. And I think that if you practice that, often we come into conversations wanting to put our, what we need or what we want or what our thoughts or reflections are first before we hear back from the other person. So there's a lot of perspective in communication, just having perspective of what is the other person thinking, how are they processing what I have to say or what conversation we are having. So there has to be understanding, there has to be a willingness to hear the other person's perspective. And one that I have learned recently, a willingness to admit that you could be wrong. You could be wrong. And especially for people, I'm going to talk to the women now who are heavily reliant on emotions. Your emotions can be very misleading. And I think in being able to have healthy communication, you need to admit to yourself that even as I go in to have this conversation, I might be wrong about how I am feeling or what I am dealing with. So communication is so wide. There's so many ways that you can look at it, so many ways that you can dissect it. But I think it's very, very important on its own. If you say communication is important for a healthy marriage, people communicate all the time. People communicate with silence. People communicate with harsh words. People communicate with just low tolerance,
Yeah.
I don't want to hear what you have to say, or if you say something that makes me even slightly uncomfortable, I'm going to walk away. So you've shut down the conversation. And that's just the first step. Many people are willing to communicate, but how are you communicating? What
Yeah.
are you saying with your tone? I remember in the early days of our marriage, my husband used to tell me, and I mean, I pride myself in being a good communicator, but Ben used to say, you've said something, but it's your tone. It's the tone in which you have said it.
Yeah.
And that thing used to piss me off because I'm like, what does he mean, my tone? I have used such nice, carefully crafted words. I've tried to be respectful, but for him, he would hear disrespect and he would hear a tone that is condescending or disrespectful. And which goes back to, you need to be willing to admit that you could be wrong, because you're not communicating for yourself, you're communicating to the other person. So they need to be understood, you need to understand them. And then what you want needs to land in order for you to receive the appropriate response. Yeah, that's my short, brief attempt at answering your question.
The other thing that just came to my head, in my own life, like I'm married. I have my wife and my daughter. She's 2,
Nice.
Isla.
Yeah.
She's amazing. I mean, that's another topic for another day,
A
parenting.
whole other
Because
story.
I'm going through it right now, like
Yeah.
with my 2-year-old. I know that's a whole another story. But I tend to have this. I don't know if it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. And when I'm mad, I don't talk in that moment. I like to keep quiet. I like to, okay, let's say we're having a conversation and she says something that makes me mad. I'll walk away. No, I'll say what I meant, and then I'll walk away without saying anything else. Me doing that is like I'm going to cool down, because I have a tendency of, when I'm mad, I say things that I later regret. So I want to not to say a word in that moment. But also, I feel like there are times when I do that and I don't come back to that thing. Like I go, keep quiet, and then I end up not even talking about it.
Yeah.
And maybe when something else happens in the future, that thing will come back because you didn't deal with it. So that, I don't know, because I have a good side to that, but I also have a negative side to that. Like I'm stepping away because I don't want to say something, but then sometimes I go to step away, and then maybe I find something that distracts me, and then I kind of forget about it, and then life goes on. But it's instant. How do you approach such a situation in your own life?
That's actually a good question. When you were starting out, I kind of knew where you were going. I feel like that's a thing that men do. Allow me be sexist. They walk away from situations, yes, because they don't want to say something that they'll regret. And I think it's a commendable trait, because often, again, back to the women, because we are very emotional and we are feeling very strongly about something, we end up saying things that we regret, like, why did I marry you? Or I could have married my ex, or, all the harsh things that we could say to our spouses. I think that communication, just like anything in marriage, is cultivated. And it can only be cultivated if you are constantly looking within to say, how do I fix this problem? I don't think that this makes my wife happy, or I don't think that it is adding value to our marriage if I don't address issues. Because you know how it is with marriage, when you leave many things unresolved or many little conversations not had, it starts to build resentment. In my case, I always felt like, man, there are a lot of things that I would have wanted to discuss with my husband. And for me, that then translated to, I don't feel like he loves me the way I want to be loved. I don't feel like I matter in this relationship, because there were little conversations, just like you, that I would try to have. And we would end up just having a very high level intellectual conversation, because my husband is very intellectual and he likes to use big English words. And so he would just constantly leave me thinking like, wait a minute, I came here with a problem, but I don't feel like it has been addressed, And if I'm being honest, the high level conversation is also necessary. And what my husband used to do is he would kind of remind me why we're in this marriage and that we love each other. And that's what matters at the end of the day. So that's good, right? It's a great perspective to have. But there are the little conversations that you need to have that feed into the overall goal of your marriage or the overall purpose of your marriage. And if those are not had, for anyone in the marriage, and I think even for you who walks away, there will be that one thing where you feel like, I need to address this thing. So I think that thankfully you have brought it up, which means you are aware of it. And so what you need to do, or what whoever is watching needs to do, is to begin to cultivate, however difficult it is, the whole, okay, I'm going to walk away because I don't want to say something I will regret, but can we have this conversation, and then set the day and the time for the conversation, basically follow through. The same way you would follow through on a business deal.
Yeah.
Because you're communicating to your wife that this is important to you, therefore it's important to me. So I want to cool off. Please give me that chance. And then maybe on Tuesday, can we talk over dinner? Or maybe after we've put our daughter to sleep, let's have a conversation about this particular issue. And then go back and actually mentally prepare what it is you want to say, process it. Because I also like to process things. I used not to be like this. I think in the beginning, I would just want to have conversations because they told us in marriage counseling, you must communicate. But I am learning that there is prudence, there is wisdom in just sitting with your thoughts and asking yourself, am I overreacting? Is there another way to address this issue? Do I need to seek counsel? And not counsel to report your husband, but counsel to say, this is what has happened and this is how I responded. Do you think I am in error? Or is there a better way to address this issue? So I guess for me, that would be my take on walking away. Walk away, but set a date for a conversation to happen.
That's perfect. And speaking about counseling, you've mentioned that you're planning to start a counseling service, and you just helped me with my own situation here on the podcast. What inspired this next chapter? And I know,
So I have been doing counseling very informally. And to the people that reach out to me, I usually say I'm not a professional. So if you need somebody to speak to and an ear to listen, I'm happy to make time, in between like the other things that I'm doing. But as this year has unfolded, I have been thinking a lot about The Good Wife and where we're heading and what it is that I want to do and get out of it that would be meaningful, both to me and to the people that I'm serving. And counseling seems like a need that I want to meet because, like we were saying earlier, marriage is kind of going through a lot of stress for many couples. And people just need to know that they're not going crazy. I don't know if you've been in your marriage and ever thought, I feel like I'm running mad, because 1 + 1 is supposed to equal 2, but right now I feel like it's equaling like 4 or 5, And I think that people need that space. They need an ear to listen, to be listened to, They need somebody to say, you're not crazy for thinking like that, but maybe pivot and think this way, or maybe channel your energy towards this, because the last 12 years, I have realized that the problems in marriage are kind of universal. They just have varying degrees and varying manifestations, but we all kind of go through the same thing. I will say, like the one for many women, when we come into marriage, I look at you, Bonny, and I'm like, oh, this guy, he's great. He has his good qualities. I'm going to say yes to him. But there are certain things about him that I want to tweak for him to be perfect, right? And many women come into marriage with that perspective. It's not something that we are conscious of all the time, but we come in trying to fix our spouse or trying to make him a certain way. I want him to listen to me like this. I want him to be maybe tidier. I want him to start wearing business casual because he's maybe always in suits, So we have this image of men in our heads that we're trying to mold you into, and it causes a lot of frustration for men. It causes a lot of frustration for us, the women, because we're like, why isn't he aligning, to this picture perfect man that I want him to be? And so that happens in many marriages. Just the other day, I was watching a podcast on Focus on the Family that do, a lot of marriage and family support. And I was watching a woman talk about exactly what I have just described. And they've been married, maybe 30 plus years. And she was saying she got into this marriage while the world is celebrating her husband and saying, oh my gosh, he's really great. He's an amazing speaker. Because me, I see you at home. I'm like, yeah, he's great, but there are things that I can fix and panel beat, So I feel like the things that happen in marriage are universal. They just manifest differently for many couples. And so as The Good Wife grows, I think that's one of the things that I want to be a bit more focused on, to provide a space where I can listen to couples. Part of it will be done with my husband because, he's a man and there can be value from his perspective. But a lot of it will be just me and the wives, or just somebody calling and saying, Rachel, I'm struggling. I need to come and see you. And I really want to pour in time and energy. I'm actually thinking about enrolling for a counseling course so that I can actually have some, professional knowledge on how to go about that. So you heard it first on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show.
There you have it. That's what we do, baby. No, I like that. I really do. And I get happy when people come into these spaces of where there's a problem and at least somebody comes in to give a hand, to help, to do all they can on that. And actually, that reminds me, like when I was doing your introduction, I mentioned purpose. What does purpose mean to you, and how does one find it?
That's such a wonderful question, Bonnie. I think that for me, purpose is the reason, the space that you are created. And I think that it can be multifaceted. And let me explain what I mean by that. I think that as individuals, we have our primary purpose. And because I'm a believer, I'm going to say that your primary purpose is to be with God, or to worship Him, or to have a relationship, some sort of connection with Him, because He created you. There's a scripture that says we were made for Him. We were made to worship Him. And I think that any human being, that is your primary purpose. But then there's that specific thing that God has called you, Bonnie, to do, or me, Rachel, to do here on earth, that is born out of the things that burden you, or the things that excite you, your passions, your desires, and the things that you want to see in this world that we live in today. And so I think that for you to be able to wake up every morning and say, this is what I'm doing, like they can wake you up at 2 a.m. and you'll be like, yeah, this is why I was created. This is what I am contributing to the earth or to the kingdom of God, is such a powerful thing. It's the reason why we wake up to go to our jobs, because maybe your job feeds into your purpose. Your job feeds into a burden that you are seeing in society. And so purpose is very, very important for any human being, just to have a sense of relevance, that you are contributing, that you are serving, and that you're impacting your world, your community, your nation. How does one find it? I think I once asked this question to someone. This was back then. I was still at Power FM. And I was trying out so many things. I was at Power, and I was also working as a news anchor at the time. And I think trying to figure out life, because I was in my late 20s, I think at the time, and nothing in life made sense, honestly. I mean, I had relationships, I had friends. I didn't know how to cultivate good friendships at the time. So I made a lot of mistakes, and I was just trying to figure out my place in this world. And the unfortunate thing about us today is there's a lot of noise competing for our attention. So we have social media, we have people who are telling you need to make money, you need to prepare. I know Pumla was here telling us we need to save, but yeah, you do need to save. I think financial stewardship is very important, but I don't think that making money for the sake of making money is why you should get up every day, which is why on your journey, at some point, you will even turn down opportunities, even though they are giving you good money, because they're not speaking to that part of you, that part of you that wants to contribute, that wants to be relevant, that wants to serve, and just be part of a larger picture. So how do you find it? I think ask yourself, what are the things that burden you? Where are your passions? Because that pool, I believe, is God calling you to your purpose. And I dare say that you might struggle to find your purpose if you're not speaking to your primary purpose, which is to be with God. Because I feel like God is who helps you discover your purpose. So if you're maintaining that relationship, that cover, that connection, that communion, then He's going to tug your heart at something. He's going to be like, but those children that you see on the street, or the children that you see in these homes, don't you want to do something about it? And the more it makes you uncomfortable, the more you go back to him to say, what can I do? And then he kind of guides you and orders your steps in terms of finding your purpose. So, yeah.
That's a very beautiful answer. And one part of your thing I did not ask was bump love. We've not talked about bump love. Can you talk to we're almost concluding, but I want to end with that and just talk a little bit about bump love. There are some people who know you from bump love, and that's the one
Wait,
area
did
that
you ask? Did you ask Pumla about Bump Love? I don't remember that.
in the
Did you?
beginning I asked her because there's some people who told me they knew her from Bump
Uh-huh.
Love and how she was on Bump
Oh,
Love.
okay.
So she talked a little
Okay.
bit on how. So I asked her about how she has been doing all these YouTube shows, whatever she's been. So she talked about
Mm-hmm.
it, and she was on Bump Love, and then to their what they're doing, what the theory.
Mm.
Yeah, she talked it like that appearance, but
Okay.
I knew
Mm.
like I think she mentioned like you were on Bump Love too. That's why I brought it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. We were together. Oh, so what do you want to know about Bump Love?
Like how you ended up on Bump Love, how you got on Bump Love, and
Oh,
yeah. And do you
okay.
do you host
Oh,
it?
not anymore. So I was part of the cast together with Pumla
Okay.
and Rosette and Angie and Manuela. And then
Okay.
the four of us kind of moved on to other things, but Manuela stayed with a new cast
Okay.
now
Okay.
to continue.
That
Yes,
actually
the
that was
conversation.
basically it because she was talking about because my audience
Mhm.
when people were recommending I sent a question to the audience to ask questions. So
Yeah.
some of people asked questions from Bump Love, what they had from there or like. But then when
Mhm.
Pumla was here, she talks about like you were also on Bump Love. So basically that was it. It was just not
Mm.
wanting to know if you're actually still doing it or when you did it. But if you're
Yeah.
not doing it, I didn't know if you were the host of it. I just wanted to know something about it.
Oh,
Yeah. So,
right. No,
yeah.
I'm not. Not
Okay.
anymore.
All right. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Anyway,
Mm.
we've come towards the end of this recording, but I don't let my
Thank
guests
you.
go without doing a
Uh-huh.
fun segment. We start with a fun segment. We gotta end with a fun
Yay.
segment. This segment is called Rapid
Bring it
Fire.
on.
Rapid Fire is where you just give me the first answer that's coming in
That
your
comes to
head.
my
I
mind.
tell people I put a
Okay.
caution. This is not advice because the first answer might not be the right answer. So don't take it as advice. It's just the first thing that came in my head. So do
Okay.
not take this for advice. I mean, these are not hard questions. What's the best advice you've ever received about love?
Say that again.
What's the best advice you've ever received about love?
Love is to the other person, like I said earlier.
One thing you can't start your day without.
My devotions, my morning devotion to God.
What's your favorite Ugandan meal?
Eshabwe.
Ishabwe. I don't know if I've ever had. I think I've had
Eshabwe.
that. I think I've had that.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If you weren't a broadcaster, what would you be doing? Like it hasn't been something you're doing actually. It's not even podcasting. You don't have to mention podcasting. Like that's all included in that. If you weren't a broadcaster in that area, what else would you be doing?
Okay, I'm already doing this, but I feel like I would be doing it maybe a little more wholeheartedly. I would be a homemaker. I would want to stay home and take care of my home and my family, make meals, do menus and stuff. Yeah.
A quote or verse that keeps you grounded.
A quote or verse that keeps me grounded. I think that would be from Proverbs. I think it's chapter 1. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
I like to share people who have listened to this podcast a lot. My favorite is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. The trust in the Lord with all your heart.
Yes. With
Lean
all
not
your
on your own
heart, yes.
understanding. Acknowledge Him and will make your path straight. That verse right there, like
Yes.
it applies to every part of my life. Like every
Everything.
part of my life. Like people are now
Love it.
seeing that I'd been doing this podcast for a long time. Like, I mean, I started,
Yeah.
nobody knew me. I started like, I just kept going. Like I just kept going. And like
Yeah.
somebody, and I said this in the last, somebody commented and said, I remember when we're just the three of us in the comment section. And now they come to the comment and there's like 70 comments as well.
Wow.
And that took me
Wow.
back. But like in that time, I just had my trust as like something will come up. I always had that drive, like just keep going. It will happen.
Mhm.
And I know I'm not there
Mhm.
yet. I'm still on the journey, but that's
You're
what God
somewhere.
is telling me. Just like trust,
Yeah.
He will make your path straight. So one habit
Yeah.
you've outgrown.
Being critical of other people.
What does success mean to you right now?
One phrase, peace of mind.
Peace of mind. There you have it, Rachel. Thank you very much for being open, warm, wise. And this conversation is a masterclass in faith, love, self awareness. And to everybody watching or listening, make sure you check out the Good Wife podcast on YouTube. Follow Rachel on Instagram, on TikTok. If this
TikTok.
episode inspired you, please share it with somebody who needs to hear it. That marriage, growth, and love, and they're still possible. And this thing is still doable. Don't give up yet. Rachel, thank you very much. It was amazing to have you on here.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie, for having me. And your podcast is definitely going places. I love it. Thank you.
Thank you. I like to ask people, is there anything else I didn't ask you that you would want to share to the listeners? Anything?
No, I think you've asked me some really deep questions, and I want to commend you on that. I quite like when I sent my prep to you. I was like, I wonder what he's going to ask me because it was kind of open. But this has been very, very fulfilling for me to express myself. I mean, I've done this for a bit, and every time I feel like I'm able to express myself and articulate myself better, but more importantly, share my heart about marriage. And thank you for being able to ask me the right questions to be able to do that.
Thank you. I end with final three. Final three is a one answer question too. What's a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
Treat people the way you would like to be treated. Treat people the way you'd want to be treated, but also life is very unpredictable. You don't know where you're going to meet those people. So make it a point to build those bridges and not to burn them, because you never know what the future holds.
What gets you excited about life?
My family. I love our little unit. I really, really do. My husband, my son, and hopefully God adds to that number. I'm still believing God for more children. But yeah, my family definitely gets me excited about life.
This is a signature question that I ask everybody who comes to the podcast.
Mhm.
Who would you like to see on this podcast next as a guest? And you helped me to get that person here. And that's how you ended up here, because of that signature question.
Yes. Yes. All right. This might seem a little biased, but I would like to recommend my husband.
Let's go. I like that. Yeah.
I mean, getting him here won't be a hard thing. So I'd like to recommend him and maybe one other person. Let me see. I was thinking about Serena. Serena Tugume she's the proprietor of Serene Beauty. It's a makeup beauty sport. And I think should be great for your channel, especially to inspire women on, starting business and growing businesses. But she's also really good for encouragement. She has a powerful story.
I have the belief that God can use anybody and everybody
Anyone,
to
for sure.
impact somebody. So it doesn't matter who you are. I do something a month, because definitely people know, celebrities or famous people come to this podcast, but every month I bring a person that people don't know that they're doing amazing work. That yes, their episodes might get less views than what the celebrities do get. I don't really care about that. And people on this podcast know when I was studying this, it wasn't about the views, it was about impacting that one person. And if that one person feels even the people that I bring on here, whether upcoming artists or somebody's trying to do something small business, they get encouraged by that, by giving them a pure. And we gotta, if we want to fix something, we gotta put our hands on it.
For sure.
Hey there, my name is Bonny Kibuuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a feedback on this podcast, because that's how we grow. Thank you very much and be blessed.
What's up, you guys? My name is Rachael Mwine and I've been hosted on the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. I can't wait for you guys to hear our conversation. We talked a lot about my journey coming to where I am, the birth of the good wife. And we talked a lot about purpose. We talked marriage, of course. What would a conversation be without marriage? And we also talked about growth and, self-evaluation. There's a lot in there. Call it a buffet. Do make sure you catch this episode on YouTube. Look out for the Ugandan Boy Talk Show on YouTube. And of course, like, subscribe, and share this episode with a friend.
Perfect. There you have it. Actually, true definition of media personality or
Media.
one take, no mistakes.
Yeah,
I want
one
to be like you.
take. I'm
You know
a
these
one-take
things.
wonder.
I've told myself
Yes.
this. I didn't do journalism at all.
Really?
I did aviation.
Wow.
I'm like a mechanic.
Meanwhile, when you reached out, I was actually in the US. Which part of the US are you in?
I'm in Michigan. And actually, I think I noticed. I saw some pictures. Yeah,
Really?
I noticed.
Oh
you.
yeah, on my WhatsApp stories.
Yeah. I live in Michigan.
I was.
Where were you? In Boston?
Okay.
Massachusetts?
No. I went to Denver and then
Okay.
I went to Oklahoma because my sister and brother live there. Then I went to South Dakota. I have an aunt who lives there. Then I went to California.
Oh,
I have
nice.
two uncles who live there.
You traveled the whole
Yes.
the whole
I
America.
traveled quite a bit.
You should have just talked about Michigan,
Yeah.
so we do this thing in my studio. That would have been amazing.
I didn't know. In my head, I thought you were in Uganda. So
Really?
yeah.
I missed that
I
opportunity.
thought you were in UG.
I'm waiting for that opportunity where I'll host somebody from Uganda in my studio.
From-
that would be
That would be
amazing.
nice.
That would be good.
Yeah. That would
Do you
be
mind
nice.
leaving this in? Because I usually leave the behind the scenes of after the recording, like your travels and stuff. Oh no.
No, I don't mind. You can
Because the
slow
cameras
it in.
the cameras were still recording at least.
They
from
were
my
still
end.
rolling?
Yeah.
No,
So-
that's okay. That's fine.
All right. Yeah, I like to leave some behind the scenes. So the most fun is the fun is had after recording. That's the most time when we take the
Yes.
we just
People
talk
kind
about
of loosen up and they can
Yeah.
say whatever they want to say.
Yeah, because one lady was telling
Yeah.
me about how her dad shared one of my clips, and she was like, "Dad, you listen to the podcast?" Because her dad is like older. I was like,
Yeah.
what are you doing with our
Interesting.
Gen Z things? Like, and then her dad didn't know that she was gonna be on this podcast, so she was like, "I'm not gonna tell
Really?
him. I'll just go on the podcast and say, you remember that one podcast you were sharing?
The other
I'm on it
podcast,
now.
yeah.
I'm on it now."
That would have made him so happy.
That
Wow.
was funny. But yeah, I was saying
Okay.
I've actually listened to podcasts, and that's how I learn, like asking questions and like how to. I love it. I love the podcast with a passion.
You're doing so well.
Thank
You're
you.
doing so well. I thought your questions were amazing.
Thank you.
One of the things that maybe I didn't mention, I really enjoy conversations. And I
Yeah.
enjoy conversations with people who ask me and prompt me to dig deep.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because I'm very introverted, I spend a lot of time in my mind and I dissect things. And
Yeah.
by the time I speak, it's coming from like so many reflections, especially in the silent moments.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody asks the right questions that gets me to like extract,
Yeah.
it makes me really, really happy. So I walk away feeling like I emptied myself.
I like
you
that.
know?
I like that.
Yeah. So
It's-
thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah, it's amazing. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, that is it. I'll let Adam take your
All right.
pictures. I think you'll
Sure.
take out your AirPods and all that. Make all the
Oh,
poses
okay.
you
Yes.
want, but yeah.
Oh dear
So,
Lord. The poses.
Kari,
Nice to see you, Bonnie.
Nice to see you. Bye bye.
Mm.